Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Hello everyone! Wednesday, 9 p.m. here in Ireland, London, 10 p.m. in France. Happy to have you all here with us today. We already have some comments here. So good evening, Marisa. Lovely to have you here with us today. It's amazing to share this moment with you guys today. So, and Fayute, our Irish friends, and today we're gonna talk about the shadows within ourselves. So, how to deal with these shadows, and it's a wonderful topic. As we are talking here before get online, we have material here to talk for hours, days, perhaps days. But we will try to do our best and feel these days look like an hour. So, good evening, my friends. Bonsoir, my friend.
Sorry, excusez-moi. Bonsoir à tous, heureux d'être parmi vous de nouveau ce soir pour parler de ce beau sujet, donc sur les ombres. Hein. Voilà, on va essayer de les enlever un petit peu, d'éclaircir un peu tout ça. Hein. Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Very happy to be here again with you tonight, today, or depending on where you are. Hein. In order to discuss a little bit about this topic, to remove a little bit these shadows and to clarify, how to say, our minds, our situation, in order to be safer in our lives.
Boa noite a todos, queridos amigos do mundo todo. É sempre uma alegria muito grande poder estar com vocês. Porque a gente aprende muito. Essas lives são especiais para o nosso aprendizado. Estar aqui significa estudar antes, trazer informações e aprender muitas vezes com quem coloca material no chat. Good evening, my dear friends. Good morning, good afternoon. It is really a great pleasure to be here once again, once a week, in this beautiful room, always full of flowers that you all are in a big garden of our dear Master Jesus. And it is really good because before we come here, we have to prepare something. We have to read, to research, and to learn. So thanks for this live that I will learn a little bit about life. So I'm grateful for you all be here. Charles, Silvia, Stevan, Nadja, and other guests. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, it's my turn. Hello, good evening, everyone. Much peace and light to everyone. Boa noite a todos, muita paz e muito amor a todos, onde quer que vocês estejam. Jesus nos abençoe a todos.
Great. Okay, so let me try to open. Of course, it's not open. But I show at the end, there is a wonderful book published by Buzz, The Shadows Lifted, The Shadows Lifted from Death.
Yes.
I will show when my computer decides to open the PowerPoint here, I will show you the picture of the book. You know, but anyway, today is an important talk. It's wonderful to share this with you guys. As Elsa well said, it's a lot of study, a lot of understanding before we come here and say something to you. And I will give this a little introduction before our video, because it's important to understand that this is not a topic related only to spiritism or spiritualism. This has been studied for many scientists, and one of them was Jung. And Jung found in his work that the brighter, or and I mean more positive or good, the conscious life becomes, the lighter a shadow becomes. So we can't eliminate our shadow; we only expose it. So, in other words, the challenge we face is to gradually bring the shadow into awareness. So, in other words, is we needed to work this. We need to fight in order to make our shadow lighter. Our spirituality becomes a perpetual splitting of ourselves between what is labeled light, good, and acceptable, and what is unacceptable. In other words, he says, we are divided in dark and evil. And who gonna win, who gonna prevail, I would say to you, is the one you're gonna feed. That is a short story when you have I saw many people claims the author the authenticity of this story here, but the one I like is you have like two bears. One is good and other is evil, and they start to fight. And who gonna win? Will win the bear you feed most. So if you feed your good bear, you're gonna win the battle. If you feed your evil bear, you're gonna win the battle. So it's up to you. The decision is in your hands. And in order to start here, I will put our video, Tuesday video.
It's tough for us to understand that the difficulties of life that are presented to us may cause us to not perhaps want to do something good because we only see the now and we forget that there's a greater picture involved in everything. There are minute details and we tend to focus on those details, but it's important to remember that those details are small parts of a great machine that eventually will produce the outcome of those things that we want. Whenever we face these small situations, we have to do what is right, what is good, in accordance with our conscience, because we are the best judges of our own selves. The conscience is the best judge of our own actions. So if we listen to our own selves, when we're doing certain actions, certain deeds, we will always do what is right. We will be in accordance with what God expects from us, the right behavior, the behavior that will open up new horizons for us, broaden our vision of life, and allow us to be at peace with ourselves. Because when we don't do what is right, we're not at peace with ourselves. When we do what is wrong, we frustrate ourselves because we know that we are doing something wrong, because we are not following that guide, which is the conscience. The law of God is written within our conscience. And if the law of God is within our conscience, that means that all we have to do is pay attention and pay heed to whatever our conscience tells us. And everything is based on love. God is all about love. The truth is all about love. So if we listen to our conscience, we're following the example of love. We're following that cosmic verb that reigns supreme in the universe. And we're following in accordance in the footsteps of the greatest moral example this earth ever had, which was Jesus Christ.
Okay. Okay, once again, thank you, our friends from Spiritist Academy, for these amazing videos. And also I want to say good night to Edward from Switzerland, Geneva. Good evening, my friend. Also Juliana, saying good night to you, Elsa. Good to have you here, Juliana, as well. So, I'd like to start today having a cup of tea in London. And now we go straight forward to Miss Gibbons' house to have this cup of tea. And I would say the introduction I have for your question, my dear, is the great question we have in being a spiritist and blindness relies in ourselves, in our beliefs, in what we want for ourselves. And this changes every time, depends of the context, depends of the situation, depends of the mood you are. This changes constantly. As a counselor, therapist, and spiritist, could you clarify about our shadows and how to deal with it in some troubled lives?
Okay, we'll try. Nothing like a cuppa to make people together and talk about spiritism, which is wonderful. So I think, first of all, in the subject is very complex and extremely, we could talk quite a long time about this, but just try to give an explanation to introduce the theme, really. And I'm based on shadow as explained by Carl Jung, who created the term. He says that the shadow is an archetype that consists of life instincts. The shadow is the part of our unconscious mind that's composed of repressed ideas, weaknesses, desires, instincts, and shortcomings. It's also, the shadow behavior is always negative. So it means that it's automatic, unintentional, and unconscious response to situations, to people, to events, to whatever happens to us. Is what we first say, or how we first react to anything that happens to us. So it's completely, almost unconscious. So sometimes something happens and we're very defensive. Our first reaction is to be very defensive and explaining that it's not our fault. This has nothing to do with us. This is one of the things. Also, we can resist change. We don't want to change. We can, what we think is the correct and everybody else has to follow kind of thing. And another part of the shadow as well is that a person can be extremely manipulative. They can make people, in many ways, they are very controlling. Or they can be quite aggressive. So all this is part of a first reaction, is a part of the shadow. So really, the shadow is the dark side of a personality. And it consists most of the primitive, negative human emotions and the impulses. It's more or less what we call the monsters within, really, that is part of the shadow. And things like rage and envy, greed, desire, selfishness, jealousy, cruelty, violence, anxiety, and also fear. That's a very big part of the shadow. And I think this is one of the most difficult things to deal with, fear and anxiety. So this is all part of us. this it's in a way it's an unconscious thing, but how do we deal with this? How can we work this? Because I think one point that needs to be understood as well, that's not everything in the shadow is negative. They have positive points as well. The part of the shadows contains qualities, capacities, potentials, which we do have. I think it's very important to understand that nothing is black and white. There is always a shadow of gray, and everything can be changed. And I think if there is anything that we learn in Spiritism, is that nothing is written in stone. It always will depend on the person, what they do, and their desire to change. And that's exactly here the point that we want to talk about today. And how do we deal with this? It can be almost sometimes we are in a situation and we think we are unable, we'll never be able to do anything, but we do. We will do it. I think Emmanuel, the spiritual guide that wrote many books, through Chico Xavier, he in his book Pensamento e Vida, and also in the Consolador, he talks about our thoughts and how we can change things by our thoughts. That we create is a force that creates. So we create a heaven or a hell. If we think we can be able to do something, that we're going to overcome something, this will happen. So our thoughts are extremely powerful force. And, like Joanna Gian says, we not always knows how to deal with it, how to control that, because it's extremely powerful force that we have. So in working with the shadows, I'm sorry, I'm referring to my notes here because I want to be quite specific. I don't want to go on and on. But I like to, the way we work with our shadow, first of all, we need to be aware of it. We need to stop and think how our behavior, how is what we do. And mostly, I think, one of the things that are most important is how we react to other people. Normally, we transfer to other people what we don't like. So if we start being very critical, the way someone is, the way they talk, the way they do things, we need to stop and think, we don't like what we're doing. It is ours. This is our problem that we are transferring to somebody else. The person maybe have nothing of that, but somehow, or the person will do things that will react in a very negative way. So it means that we don't like in ourselves and we're projecting it. This is I think is the first point that we need to be aware of, and how to work with our shadows. Of course, we can't deny that part of it we can do ourselves, but at times we need the help of a therapist to guide us and help us, especially in a very ingrained way, and especially if we have also a lot of trauma. We need a professional to help us with this. But some things we can do by ourselves. So I think the first thing that we need to be aware is our emotions, a negative emotion, our responses, that we need to think about. Also, once we do that and we realize that maybe what we project on other people, things that we don't like in ourselves, and we like to change, and we feel uncomfortable with certain behaviors that we have. And the first thing that we need to do is to forgive ourselves, that we have a part of us that's not so nice, because especially sometimes in religious situation, we think of, a spirit like Jesus, who was the most perfect spirit that has ever been to this earth. But we have to understand that Jesus is so far ahead of us. The place where he was born, where he lived, where he learned, the planet in which the solar system that he existed doesn't even exist anymore. If we consider that he's the governor of the planet Earth, and our planet is 4 billion years old, and he was already the governor of our planet, you can imagine how far ahead he is of us. And the thing is also, he said to us, you are gods. You can do everything I do and more. So he has already given us the open door, and we know our potential. This is very important for us to remember when we're trying to work how good I'm not so good, and we tend to sometimes punish ourselves a lot, because a lot of the part of the shadow as well that weighs quite a lot besides fear is also guilt. We feel guilt for so many things, and things that don't even have anything to do with us, and we feel guilt about, because that's part of us, that's something in us that makes it increase on that. So we need to be aware of it. So forgive ourselves for our past mistakes and look forward how we're going to be better, and accept this part. And I think this is very, very important, the acceptance of this part of us that is not so good. I think this is one of the first steps as well that we need to take. And also honor that part, because this is a personal journey. No one can do that for us. They can help us. They can, the spiritual benefactors, our guardian angels, every friends, incarnate friends, family, discarnate friends. They can help us. They can sustain us. They can give us incentive, but cannot do the journey for us. This is a personal, individual journey. I think Emmanuel as well, he says in one of the books that the path to enlightenment is individual. And I think you read this as well in almost every culture. So this is very important, this individual process that we have. And also another important part, it is with us, the control. We are the ones who decide if we are going to do it or not. We are the ones in control. I think this, not because sometimes we want to follow spirits of light and we compare ourselves, and we should never do. Yes, compare ourselves in a sense, so yes, they've achieved something, and I would like to follow their example in that way. Because, Jung has this very, very profound quote from him that I always think it's very, I like that very much. I think about that often. He says, you don't become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. So it's wonderful to think about all these wonderful spirits ahead of us, but it's important for us to bring our own darkness, our own things that we don't like, the negative part of our souls, up into the air, so we can look at it, we can work at it, take away what we don't need anymore, and make, but also see what is good. We need to also see, because we have a part of us that are good, that we have achieved something, and we need to honor those parts, because feeling guilt and feeling bad because we have something that's not quite good, we need to honor that good part to create a balance, and this will give more encouragement and support for us to go and deal with the things that are a little more difficult. So within the shadow is not, there is also the potential there for us to do. So we needed to explore things. Because one of the things of going on in our old ways and keeping on to the things that we have is that we, in a way, we sabotage ourselves. We deprive us of the source of energy, of light, the ability that we have to connect with others, to be there and to be the people that we were born to be. Because we are not born to be unhappy in this world. We are not born to suffer. We are born to be healthy, to be strong, and to go towards the light. Joana de Angelis says that, and I think this is very important for us to honor it, that, we were born to be happy. Suffering is not the end all. Of course, we do have suffering, we have difficulties, but this is like the moments that we have that we are happy. It's the same thing. They pass, they go. And this is important for us to be aware of it. That is here. So I think the main thing is that we need to be aware of what we have and the desire to change. Unless we do have the desire and the need to change, we probably we won't do that until we decide to do it. Because as I said before, no one can do the work for us. I think Aulus in one of André Louis' books says, a change of mind is a change of life. So those things are very important for us to remember. And I think in talking about the shadow, and as Jung created it and talked about it, there are many, many facets of this archetype. We need to, work more on that. But I think the connection with what we have with the Spiritism, because in Spiritism we say the same thing, exactly the same thing, that the things that we don't like about ourselves, we try to change. We try to make sure that we become kinder, more tolerant. And I think the basic lesson is what we have in the Gospels, because that's a path. And in this, we are very, very lucky in Spiritism, because we already have a path that has shown to us. Do unto others what we would like them to do to us. I think if everyone on this planet would stop to think about it and do it, even half of it, we would be in a lot better planet than we are having at the moment. So, and in Spiritism as well, we have, the journey of self-enlightenment is one that it's our own. And this is so good, because when we achieve a point, when we reach a certain point of enlightenment, we know that the work has been ours. So it's more valued, isn't it? Because if everything that we have to work hard for, we value more. It's part of the human condition to be like that. So I think what in psychology, in the Jungian psychology, called the process of individuation, is what in Spiritism we call enlightenment, a spiritual enlightenment. And that's one of the reasons we come to this planet, we reincarnate, is to progress, is to learn, to go forward. And one of the ways that we learn things here while we're here in this planet, it's by serving others. Jesus said that the ones who want to be the first should be the one who serves the most. And sometimes it seems very, very contradictory, but that's how it is. If we need to treat people with care, we need to create around us, a point of strength to people, because the only way they will learn and they get to know things is by us. We should be the example. What we say, we can say beautiful things, but unless we act the words that we say, it's valid. It doesn't help ourselves or anybody else. So I think in the video as well, actually, he said, how can we know things? And his question 621 of the Spirit's book, when Kardec asked the spirits, where are the laws of God written? And the spirits answer, in your conscience. So we are already born with the knowledge of good and evil. it's just up to us to do, what we need to do. And the best way of doing it is to have the courage of ourselves, to know what we need to change on ourselves, to value more what we have we have achieved, and what good things we already have for ourselves, and honor them. And slowly, eventually a shadow will disappear, because we'll be a person of light, which we are. We are spirits of light. We are angels in the making. It's every day is like this huge diamond that is broke, is in the rock. Unless you are an expert person in gems, you would not recognize it. And the diamond is polished only by the strength of another diamond. So and it's exactly with us, isn't it? I mean, we only learn in a contact, in a relationship with other people. And eventually the light within will shine, and we will have no dark sides, because we have attained spiritual enlightenment. Very briefly, I like to read something that I translate very quickly from Joana de Anjos, but I thought it was so good. Emmanuel says, our thoughts create our heaven and our hell. So if we change our mind, we change our life, everyone. So Joana de Angelis says, she's talking actually, is a message about war, a tug of war, and the fights, and how, where is our brothers, and this kind of thing. But at the end, she says, keep your peace. Think and act with peace. Collective upheaval causes individual disturbances. Your voice, your acts, and your thoughts constitute a powerful force that you do not always know how to use it. Keep them to the service of yourself and of others. Be kind without flattery. Be kind without flattery. Be gentle but not servile. Be good without false humbleness, creating sympathy, tenderness, and love around you, wherever you are, and with whomever you meet. Whatever you do, you contribute towards the general good, which always depends on the individual. When faced with the roar of the tempest, therefore, keep yourself in the love of our Father. Love and pray, transforming yourself in a point of reference for the general harmony. I think, I thought those words were so filled with knowledge for ourselves, because Joana de Anjos, she always, in her books, like in the Conflicts Existenciais, which is a wonderful book there, she gives all the parts of our shadows, but she always gives you how to deal with it, how to work it. So it's wonderful to read her. And I think, she said, if you do that, you'll be the point of reference that others will follow. So I conclude here, I think. Thank you.
Thank you, my dear. Also, I want to say good night to Munir, Elsa Lee, our friends from Sweden, and Maria Eugenia from Munich. So, glad to have you all here with us today. And now we have our cup of tea in London. Now we go to eat some macaron in France. My dear friend Charles, according to question 392 of the Spirit's book, the Spirit said to Kardec, no, I changed my way to ask this question. We incarnated without remember the past. And Kardec asked the spirits why it happened, and the spirit said, I read, through the forgetfulness of the past, man is more fully himself. But the question here is, even though we reincarnate without remember the past, our shadows comes with us. At a certain moment, in a certain situation or in a certain moment, they knock the door and say, hey, I'm here. You need to deal with me. Could you explain how to fight these shadows with or without religion?
Good question, Stevan. I really thank God every day, not remembering my past lives. All these bad things I have done over the years and the centuries. I prefer not to know it, because if I would know it, I would feel guilty. It would be very, very much more difficult for me. The fact that we forget our past lives in normal situation, because sometimes some people are remembering, is a gift exactly to help us to not to suffer too strongly the consequences of this shadow, and to give us an opportunity to work and replacing these shadows by light. And nevertheless, as you told it very wisely, Stevan, even if we don't remember our past in the details, we have some, when we observe ourselves, some natural trends, some tendencies, some, how to say, preferences or some skills. And from those, we can easily derive the type of mistakes we may have done in the past. Again, this is everything as Silvia also explained it very well. Somewhere written is the voice of our conscience which brings us this. If you have a kind of a tendency, a bad tendency that we are fighting against in this life, it's probably some mistakes we have done in the past, and we are struggling in this life not to repeat again. And only the fact to observe in ourselves this tendency is already helping us to identify these trends. And we don't know in normal situation, we don't need to know more about the past, clearly. And you talk about religion. Religion is something from the past. I mean, dogmatic religion with sacerdotal hierarchy, with all these abuses which have been committed over the centuries and millennium even. Religion is really something which does not satisfy anymore the intelligence of today's majority of the humans, clearly. These things are really things from the past, and the spiritist or modern spiritualist teachings are really above this old conception of religion and even about the old conception of science. It is something really disruptive, thought out of the box, as per the expression. And the humankind, with the change resistance, has always this tendency to bring these new things, to resist to the change, and to try to force to bring them back into the boxes, which is, instead of going in front, instead of progressing, going back to the past, to our habits, to how to say, the comfort zone in a certain way. And it is well known that behaving like this is also hindering our evolution, clearly. So Silvia explained very well that the shadows are, in the Jung conception, are life instinct, archetype of life instincts. So what do the spirits teach us and tell us? They tell, yes, of course, at the beginning of our evolution, we are governed by instincts, instincts which are sometimes very useful. Instinct of preservation, for instance, the fear to escape when there is a danger that we don't know or that we don't control, or the instinct of preservation for how to say, finding food and things like that, which is, by the way, at the root cause of the pride, selfishness and pride, clearly. And what are they telling us? They are saying, okay, you are now developing your intelligence, you are developing your knowledge, and as soon as the intelligence develops, they are substituting progressively the instincts. In other words, these instincts, which are exactly at the source of the shadows, we can progressively eliminate them by developing our intelligence. For instance, the fear is exactly, as Silvia also mentioned, something which paralyzes us. When you have really fear something, you lose your control. You try to find a way to escape. No, when you look, for instance, to the fireman, even if there is an explosion or a fire or whatever, he does not escape. He only escapes when he sees with his intelligence that there is a real danger. But he knows the situation, he knows the dangers, he's trained to it, and by using this intelligence, this training, he is then facing the fire and finding ways to extinguish it. You understand? It's a very simple example showing how intelligence can replace the instincts. The instincts, again, when you are afraid of something and you run away, it's for your preservation. But with the intelligence, you can analyze better the situation and cope or face it in a better way, in a more rational way. And the Spiritist teachings are also bringing us a lot of information about ourselves. First, teaching us that we have a soul, as we explained in our first spiritual lives. So it changes completely the paradigm. So you see, we know where we come from, we know what we are, where we are, and we know also where we are going to. So we have a kind of an intelligence of the purpose, of the meaning, of the sense of our life. And having this intelligence is also helping a lot to, again, by the self-observation, be aware of it. You told Silvia, it's exactly like this. And then when you are aware, you can analyze, is it what I want? Is it the path I want to follow or not? And having this intelligence is also bringing us huge resources in order to face and to progressively eliminate all these shadows and replace them by lights. And it's really one of the most beautiful things of Spiritism. It's this rational way to study these questions which were taught during centuries or millennium by the traditional religions. All this dogmatic approach, you have to believe in it because it's written or because the Pope has said it or because whatever. No, now it's completely different. There are natural laws governing the physical world. So this is basically the science which today is studying it. There are also natural laws governing the spiritual part of the universe that so far science, the official science, is ignoring. And having both this knowledge is, of course, again, helping us to detect these shadows, is a kind of a light that we can use exactly to eliminate in us all these type of shadows we still have. Well, I'm a spiritist, but sometimes I also have shadows. I will give you a very simple example. I am a little bit claustrophobic. I don't like to stay, okay, a lift is okay, a car, plane, no problem. But when the people put me, for instance, in a magnetic resonance apparatus, where you have to bend a little bit your shoulder in order to enter in the tube, so narrow it is, then I really don't feel at ease. And all the times I was at the limit of, okay, take me out of here, and so on. And of a sudden, one of the guys, to which I told, please don't I asked him, don't let me too long with my head in the middle of the stuff, because I'm a little bit sensible to it. And he made me a very simple remark. He told, so far, I have never seen anyone staying blocked inside such a machine. And that was a kind of a revolution for me. I told, this guy is fundamentally right. I never saw someone which stayed blocked into such stuff. And since then, it's much, much easier for me to go inside such stuff. So you see, I'm okay. I'm simplist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm an engineer. So I'm totally unable to comment Jung or Freud or whatever, or even Joanna de Angelis about the psychological aspect of all those things. I just try to find a very simple and pragmatic way to approach it. And this example is exactly illustrating this. The Spiritist teachings are really bringing us this light, principally, particularly about the spiritual world, where we are going to. We have given a lot of hints to you during all these emissions. And this is really then, by using our intelligence, helping us to little by little, because you don't manage to bring a shadow or a defect or some bad tendency you have out from one day to the other. It requires will, it requires patience, it requires persistence. But if you really have the will, and you will end up managing replacing that shadow by a light, and then really you go up into the evolution towards God.
Wonderful, my friends. Thank you very much. Also, we do have, I want to say good night to our friend Mohammed, Amanda Rodriguez from Brazil, Agnes Estrela, and Robbie Brown from California. He made a wonderful comment here. Mistakes are part of the process and shouldn't become something that we allow to weight us down. We acknowledge and make amends by putting in the necessary effort to develop better habits that are beneficial to all. Thank you, Robbie. Also, Lee, I also comment here without, because see, only we can work self mistakes in my self shadows. I can ask and help to God and Jesus or one God, good spirit, to be strong, but they don't do my work. Yeah, what she says here, at the end, it's our efforts. We have a bunch of people supporting us, the spirit supporting us, but at the end, it's our job, it's our task. Also, this is the book we said at the beginning. So here, The Shadows Lifted from Death. So that's the book we have available at Buzz. So it's a wonderful book, and I highly encourage you to contact Buzz and acquire this book in order to learn a little bit more about the shadows. And now,
this book, there is one chapter that I like very much, Everyday Reality. It's really good.
Yeah.
People can find it in Amazon or can write it to us. Okay?
Yeah. Good, my dear. So, wait, we drank our tea, we ate our macaron. Now we're gonna go to Elsa, but I just don't drink our water because it's too much, tonight. So, my dear Elsa, I will approach a topic you like to talk about: kids, children. And we are saying here a lot of shadows. I have these shadows. I need to fight. I need to do this. I need to do a lot of things here. But kids, they do have shadow or not. They how they express this perhaps in my ignorance here, perhaps when they have a nightmare, it's one way to expose the shadows. So can you help us in order to understand how to deal with these children shadows, please?
Exactly. And so before I answer you, I'd like to show the book that Silvia talked about, Pensamento e Vida, Thought in Life, that we have available as well, published by BAS, by our British Federation. Okay, Stevan, for me, children, I'm very keen towards children, but children are centenary, millenary spirits. Children are people in past incarnation did good or bad. So accordingly to the reincarnation existence for the eternal life, one life, eternal life, we are come and go. Children comes and sometimes since early age, as my granddaughter, has nightmares. And also, I think a lot of father and mother, parents that are listening us now, they know and have terror at night. That is something that they are crying, shouting without listening you. They are sleeping and crying and shouting. It's different from nightmares. Nightmares, they wake up, you cuddle them, talk to them, put them in your bed, is something. But the other one is really difficult. But it's nothing one or other making a problem later on for children. But of course, as a spiritist, we know that the invisible companions, when they found the children, the spirits that were fighting the past, enemies in the past, they pega carona. They come and use any weak point of these spirits that is incarnated for 40 years, 3 years, or even babies, in order to make a terror around them, or can make their nightmares. I told you before, Giovanna, 3 months old, she was crying day and night, no stopping, beautifully, no problem in ears, no problem with tummies, nothing, no problem, health problem, physical problem. And the spirit, when the spirit appears, said to me, once someone in this house will die. Of course, the little baby was seeing this spirit, was aware. She was a baby, 3 months only. And I saw the spirit that was more or less attacking my child. So I know as I vivid things that I lived before, the child sees spirits because they are between 2 worlds, more or less, and these spirits can really make nightmares with these little ones, put in their minds things that perhaps they are aware from the past, and when they have a good education, good father, good mother, talk to them, helping them to be aware that it's not a problem. Give them a little teddy to sleep again, not shouting, not make them, more problematic moment. This can be released without any problem, grow up without any problem. Of course, shadows from the past will carry around me, around anyone in this previous and after next incarnation. We are there. We are here to learn how to deal. Silvia, make good points. about it. As she cited Joana de Angelis, Jung, Emmanuel, books. Charles explained very well as well, the law of cause and effect and other problems. And as a baby, a child grow up, will be me in the future, will be you in the future, we have to deal with our own shadows that perhaps started attacking us, making us when we were little ones, from these enemies from the past. But a good father, a good mother, pray as well. If they believe in spirituality, guardians, angels, they can take the child or the children to receive healing in Spirit Center. The healing is not a magic thing that take things out. No, only help to understand, to undergo in a better way our inner problems. It serves for child, for young people, for adults, for ourselves, for everyone, even people from other religions, Catholic Church, Baptist Church, or other kind of church. They can come, they don't need to change their religions, but they can add something else that this beautiful philosophy and science can bring to us. I think that's a marvelous main point that I want to say. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, my dear. Thank you very much. So, Silvia, do you want to complement something? Do you want to add something?
Just very briefly talking about children and when children go into tantrums, they are showing their shadows, because the shadow is the things they have in their own souls. It's their own things, not from outside. It's their own past. It's their own, it's part of their soul that doesn't know how to behave or is still very instinctive. So, you know, when you have a child going crazy and going up and down and screaming, you know, sometimes you see them in supermarkets. It's that they are showing their shadows. I mean, a child from a very young age show how strong the personality can be. And, you know, I think that's the point, because the shadow is part of your soul, something that you need to work within ourselves.
A good education needs, not?
Well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going here to the our announcements, and meanwhile, let's see if.
Thank you, Agnes Strelas.
Yeah, that doesn't say. I just saw it. Agnes says, "I like the point Elsa brought that we are going to be child one day." Yeah, my dear. That's the reincarnation. That's the cycle. Okay, so let me put it here. My screen, and there we go. Next week, our topic is healing and cure by Jesus. So stay tuned. We will talk more about healing and cure, okay, by Jesus. So next August, 18th of August at 9 p.m. Also, August 17, 8:30, we do have a nice talk by our friends in London, Guilherme Dias and Rafael Caldas, and their show is Time to Talk, and the topic is, do I have a soul?
Is that part of Spiritist Society of London?
Yes. So yeah, the SSL, yeah, with the support of Buzz. So don't miss it. Two wonderful people talking about and making the Spiritism in English more aware to everyone, spreading the word. That's the most important thing. That's why I'm delighted about it. Also, Kardec group, they have Insightfully Speaking is more a podcast, but they do record in YouTube. So you can go and see the episodes. The episodes, I think so far we do have 4 episodes, is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer, and Amazon Music. So please don't miss it. It's a show managed by our friends in Kardec group, and also they support a good cause, High Five. High Five helps 2 organizations in Brazil. One is in Salvador, which is the Grupo Espírita Sheila, and the other one is in Curitiba, Multirão, Instituto Multirão. So go to www.kardec.org.uk, High Five, and you will learn more about it and how you can support those 2 groups. Also, let me see here, on the 28th of August, we do have a nice talk about spiritual questions about animals by Dr. Aulus Karsioff. He's a veterinarian and spiritist. This is a talk supported by Buzz, and you watch it on YouTube and Buzz YouTube and Facebook on Saturday, 28th of August at 4 p.m. London time. Also, we do have a series of Joanna de Angelis psychological series done by our friends in Bournemouth, Spiritist Society of Bournemouth, and Paul Christian Spiritualist Church. So they have on 13th of August, so this Friday, an episode, and I think is every other week, and you cannot miss. It's a wonderful show, a wonderful talk, good insights, and I always listen to them, and it's very good. Also, this book here, published by Buzz, written by Richard Simonet, Suicide. Here's the QR code. You can scan it, and you have access to this book in Amazon, Elsa, and
PDF. It's free in PDF.
It's free in PDF. So yeah, so wonderful. So with this QR code here, you can scan and you can download the book free of charge. So let me see. Yes, in September, we start our suicide prevention month, and Buzz, Irish Spirit Federation, and Kardec Radio organized this wonderful conference, which is understanding why life is always worth it. So we will have 5 amazing speakers: Tani Stevanin, Mick Collins, Fernanda Perini, Marina Stigl, and Peter Fenwick. So don't miss it, and share, please, with your friends. And also in October, but we are already sharing and announcing, we will have the first world meeting of Jesus Friends with Chico Xavier and his legacy. It's an online event from 3rd September, October to 10th of October. Talks will be in English, and the talks in Portuguese will have online translation. So it's an amazing opportunity to learn more and understand a little bit more about this great medium we had in Brazil, Chico Xavier, and the correlation with Kardec's teachings. The speakers is John Harkey, Rui Marba, Vanessa Anceloni, Rosário Jordão, and Geraldinho Lemos. So, again, wonderful speakers, You cannot miss this. Okay, so more. Here's the support. Art Spirit Federation, Buzz, Lithuanian Spiritist Group, Rádio Uruguai, Recanto da Prece in Portugal, and, well, Associação Espírita Fraternidade Discípulos de Jesus, Recanto Espírita in UK, and in Germany, a group in Germany as well, and Kardec Radio, as I mentioned. And that's it. See? Just few announcements. We started this show here with no announcement, no event in English. Now I need about between 5 and 10 minutes saying what we have events in English. This is amazing. This is, I can say, I get emotional because we start with nothing. And now we have all these events. I want to say everyone who supports this, thank you very much for your help, for your kindness, for your patience as well, because none of us are, we have English as our mother tongue, but we do our best here in order to allow the message reach you in a better way, So with this all good news, I want to say thank you for your time. Thank you for all our friends here who put in the comments, Kardec Radio, to give us this opportunity to be here, to share this, to give us this moment, this moment here. I want to say thank you, Kardec Radio, and also to you, dear Silvia, dear Elsa, and my friend Charles. Thank you very much. I'll see you next week.
Bless you all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
God bless.